like um so loud. Like a little meditation. I have this drum with me to kind of help like ground and center our energies together to just create like the space and um to just get more connected to ourselves and to each other. um the other thought was like, I don't know if you need movement or what sounds good to you.
Yeah, drum sounds great, or meditation or whatever. Yeah, I have
Okay.
a lot of space to move around because my cabin is so tiny. So,
Okay,
uh,
yeah, let's just stay comfy and seated and
I'm like,
get into that like stillness where we can like just feel, yeah, good and grounded. So, um, and then I may put this into the podcast, or I might just like put it as like an extra that people can listen to if they want to like watch the like before the behind the scenes kind of part. But I'll let you know about all that later. So let's just close our eyes if you feel comfortable and take a few cleansing breaths. We can do like through the nose and out through the mouth for 3 to 5 times or something. Just imagining that as I breathe in, I'm breathing in positive energies and letting go as I release anything that's happened before today or this week or this month, getting really present. Doing a great job breathing and connecting to the breath, connecting to the body, creating a safe and sacred container for Flower and Maverick to share our stories, our hearts, our minds, feeling loved, and that there's many, many energies here with us to support us, to remind us how loved we are, how protected and safe we are in these moments, reminding us of where we are in our homes with roofs over our heads and all the things. So, as you continue to breathe, I'm going to play the drum for a little bit and just see how this makes us feel. Somewhat of a prayer in some ways of just how special and how grateful and blessed I feel in these moments to be here with you, to be here showing up for myself and for our community. Feel free to think of an intention if that feels good for the session or just for what you want to share about. If there's something that comes through, feels natural, please allow that to come in now. One of my intentions is just to really, on some level, focus on our joy and have that come through in a very powerful light. And obviously, being authentic and genuine with our other shares of any hardships that need to come through so we can, be real and honest and raw with the entire expansiveness of who we are, but also really coming here to remind each other how epic it is to be transgendered and within that umbrella, and to provide that energy so that people, including ourselves, feel hopeful and they feel that, yeah, there's hope coming forward in our future and for right now, too. So I will bring us back into the space where we'll, in a moment, open our eyes, but just want you to slowly come back into the space that's not too jarring on your system. You can take a few more deep breaths if you feel that feels good. And then we'll have you just start to wiggle your toes and your fingers and start to feel the room around you again, feeling the air on your skin, maybe the temperature around you, the clothes on your body, starting to feel more sensations in your legs, in your arms, in your torso, in your chest, in your neck, in your head. And then the very last moment when you feel ready to come back into the space, just feel free to open your eyes and we'll get started.
Yeah.
All right. How did that feel for you?
Good. Brought in uh, just some good grounding, centering energy.
Good. So now I'm going to introduce our next guest onto the podcast. Her name is Autumn Flower Creek, or just Flower for short. She is a trans femme builder, artisan, and educator. She specializes in natural building practices using earthen materials like clay, sand, and straw to build small dwellings. Um, Also, she creates beautiful wall plasters and makes artistic sculptures. She believes that by transforming waste into resources and utilizing healthy materials, we can co create a regenerative future for all beings. And I am so jazzed about everything that you are doing in the world and who you are. And we will definitely be talking about some of these things that you do, but we'll definitely start off with more of your background and your story as a trans femme person in the world.
Great.
And so, yeah, how are you doing today, Flower?
Oh, I'm just really happy to be here and I get to have a conversation with you, Mav. So
Yeah,
on and just love having opportunities to share my journey. I'm a pretty open book, and um, it's been a joy to be able to share the joy of my trans journey and be able to share a little bit about the work I do and all of that. So thanks.
amazing.
Yeah.
And is this your first podcast you've been on?
I think it might be.
Okay.
I've done some like interviews in different forms, but this I think is the first podcast. So
Amazing. Well, congratulations and thank you for being here on this Saturday evening
yeah.
in different parts of the world. But yes, very excited to have you on. And so a lot of these questions, I'll just let folks know, are from my Epic Transformation Journal. So I've pulled some questions that are from there, but I'm also imagining that there will be probably natural other questions that arise as we have a conversation today. So the first question is just really to get us started of like where your gender journey started and how it's like transpired over time.
Totally. Yeah, well, it's an interesting question because th there's, of course, a way in which it uh, began when I began. Um,
Hmm.
has been a part of the fabric of who I am for my entire life, but it was latent for a long time for me. I didn't grow up in a context where I even knew that it was possible to be trans and um, grew up in very like small box kind of circles. Not a lot of people breaking out of those boxes. And I actually I didn't get to the point of identifying as trans until I was in my early to mid 20s. And the journey has been accelerated since then. I'm 30 now. I've been out as a trans girl for 3 years now.
Okay.
A couple weeks ago, actually, I celebrated 3 years on estrogen. So that was a
Nice.
really lovely milestone to hit. Started
Yes.
exploring transness and in a non-binary presentation for a couple years prior to that. But yeah, it was 2021 in the fall when flower really came through fully for the first time.
Mm.
And it's been such a gift to get to know her and to be continuing to nurture that that part of myself in these years.
Mm. Lovely. I'm just realizing too, it's kind of coming back to me because we met at a house party and I started testosterone the same year that you did.
Oh my
And so
goodness.
yeah,
Wow.
and I don't know, was that like a year or two ago that we would have met each other? I'm not even sure, but
I think about a year. That sounds right. Maybe a little
yeah.
more.
Yeah, and it feels like we were both like, a year is like a good amount of time on our hormones
Hmm.
and like kind of coming out more, like experiencing more of those changes and then like
Yeah.
being able to be more of ourselves in some ways when we got to meet each other. So it
Mhm.
was a very exciting time, I felt, and I felt very lucky to have met you that
Oh,
night.
yeah. I'm so glad that we crossed over.
Yeah. And even though we haven't seen each other since, like we stay connected online, which is nice too.
Yeah, really special.
Um, so yeah, so what are some other things like what other significant things um have happened over time that like you just really cherish or treasure
Mm.
from your journey?
Well, I mean, in terms of what's directly present for me, I got my passport in the mail today with
Yay.
name and gender marker, and that feels so good. I started that process of updating my information. Um, Beginning of this year, I think, is when I started getting things rolling and uh, got my new driver's license this summer. And um, that's been a really exciting part of this past year for me. It was something that for a couple of years I was um, using names that aren't my birth name and thought, this is fine. I don't know if I ever need to get around to it. And then something really shifted for me um, about like a year and a half ago, and I decided, actually, you know what? I'm really ready for this. It was when I hit my 2 year mark on estrogen and progesterone, and I was just like, I think this is actually going to be something that feels really affirming, and it's
Mm,
been one of the most like gender euphoric things for me. Every time I
mm,
need to use my ID, uh, I
yes.
just feel so good, and it's just been a really like a huge confirmation to have everything reflect the like most true feeling embodiment of myself.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. Um,
Do you have some travel plans in the like coming up and that's kind of why you got your passport going too?
the passport, I mostly jumped on it because I wanted to make sure it was taken care of before whatever changes might be afoot with the new administration coming in. Um, that was the urgency for it, but I I have done a fair amount of international travel in my life and have some light intentions for travel about a year from now. So just felt like a good thing to get that done and be
Yeah.
to go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad you got that. Yeah, that feels really good. And yeah, like I feel like once you just navigate that whole system and then you get through it, there is such like yeah, there's the affirmation part, but there's also like kind of this relief of like, all right, you know, that's over with.
Yeah.
Like talking to people and be like, oh my God, I just remember one person I went up to. I just like was giving them the papers and then they just like looked down at my chest and I was like, yeah, okay, can we just just keep going? uh,
Yep.
yeah, little cringe, but it's all fine.
Those moments are part of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
um, okay, I have a good question. So, as a trans person, what makes you the most excited about being alive right now?
Mm. Well, I mean, I'm definitely very excited about the work that I'm doing in the world. The natural building work, it's something I really believe in wholeheartedly, and feel excited to be a part of shifting the culture around what materials we use to build our homes. Um, in terms of something that relates to my gender experience, I think that this, while this is a very challenging time and a very scary time to be a trans person, especially to be a very vocal and out trans person,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's also a really important time to be visible and to be vocal to the degree that one feels safe to do so.
Yeah.
And I feel very fortunate to be living in California where my rights are less at risk um, than they are in so many places in our country. Um, and I feel really fortunate as well to have a really strong support network that I know will catch me. And I'm, yeah, very commonly surrounded by people that accept me and receive me for who I am. And with that, I believe that also it, it provides me the opportunity to be transparent and vocal about my trans experience because I have these safety nets that I can return to. And it doesn't mean that I'm always safe. I have encountered situations where I am unsafe, even in San Diego. It's going to happen anywhere. Um, but by and large, I've found myself able to navigate the world in a way that gives me relative safety while also being able to stand courageously in my identity and share that with people. Um, and it's been a gift to be able to have conversations with people who had never met a trans person before, and they're stumbling along the way. They're you know misgendering and maybe saying some really asking uncomfortable questions. The whole lot that's part of
Yeah.
it. Uh, I don't always want to do that emotional labor. Um,
Yeah.
Times where I've felt like, uh, wow, I'm really glad I was able to have that experience because now that person is going to meet another trans person in their life and they're going to think, oh, like flower, that like positive interaction that I had with that person. And
Yeah.
so I'm grateful for the times that is accessible to me again, dependent upon my safety in certain circumstances. But that's something that I feel really excited about.
Yeah. I think, yeah, the more personal connections we can have with people, like you said, if like as much as comfortable as you feel to do that, I do think when people have positive, real connections with somebody, even if it's a stranger and it's a short conversation, but they just have this, like, they actually have a tangible, real experience of somebody in real life, I think it helps and it goes a long way because, like, even just my experience with family, let's say, like, they are watching a lot of things online. And then when I come into the room, sometimes they're just regurgitating things that they've seen through
Yeah,
the screen, right? And then by having actual conversations with me, it starts to shift the energy because I'm like, you do remember who I am and you can feel I'm existing right in front of you, right? Like, and that part of it, like, it goes a long way. It ripples because then they really have to be like, okay, is this true for all people? Now I have this real example in my life that's like showing
yeah,
me that maybe all those things that I heard are not necessarily true for everybody, right?
really. Yeah, it goes such a long way to have personal connections, and it brings things out of the abstract, in which it's much easier to discriminate against someone or hate someone or judge someone, into uh like you're saying, like a face to face, someone they know, someone they love, someone they trust. And it really makes a big.
Yeah, for sure. um, so I feel like this is kind of a good next question is around like, is there anything that you would share to somebody who maybe is like uncomfortable or disrespectful or does not honor your identity and who you are, and or tangent of like, is there somebody that has hurt you in the past that you would like want to share something from a perspective of like the idea of like whatever that most healed version of you
Yeah.
is, like what would you want to say to that person or those people?
Hmm. I think what I'd want people to know and really take to heart is that I'm just being myself by being trans and being choosing to divert out of gender norms. It's just me being my authentic self. And in a certain way, it's as simple as that. I think it's just people wanting to be themselves and wanting to express and wanting to explore and wanting to feel beautiful. And I think it really can just be as straightforward as that. I think it's easy for people to get caught in rhetoric traps of like, what about women in sports, and like about bathrooms, and like all of these things. And like, yeah, there's a place for those conversations. There's a place for us to collectively explore together, how do we structure a society that actually fits everyone, and to acknowledge that the society that we have structured frankly doesn't. um, and at the end of the day, it's just people wanting to be themselves, just wanting to live their happy little life. And
For
it
sure.
doesn't have to affect anyone else. The rights of one person doesn't detract from the rights of others. There's this saying, let's see if I recall it. You may have heard it. From it's some I'm going to paraphrase, but from the position of privilege, equality feels like oppression.
Let's say it again for people in the back.
Okay, from the position of privilege, equality feels like oppression.
Yeah.
But when you can get past that, you can realize that one of us leveling up means all of us level up collectively.
Right.
The more that we can all be our true selves, the more it makes space. Like the more that trans people can be their true selves, the more it makes space for cis people to be their true selves. Like we're just opening space. We're carving new pathways for what it can look like to exist in the world and embody oneself in the world. And that's scary for people that haven't yet done that inner work to explore who they are, and
Right.
that feel more comfortable in the bounds of that smaller box. Um, so it can be scary to break out of that box, but once you move past that fear, you discover there's so much freedom on the other side of it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like to me, what you just like said and we're talking about is like what I feel like is one of the most epic things about transforming in any capacity, right? Like,
Yeah.
sure, as transgender people, like we're transforming in this specific way, but the whole idea of transformation is that like you're alchemizing the trauma or you're alchemizing the just the parts that feel like have been programmed in you, or whatever those things are that makes that feel like you are living in a box that cannot change or cannot evolve or grow or something like that. And I think, like, when we get to mirror that to other people, of actually you're seeing it as this is like the most horrible thing ever or something, but actually I've now transmuted a lot of those things. But yeah, I don't know, I think a lot of us on some level, from my experience meeting other trans folks, like, we have a lot of compassion for other people and a lot of empathy, and like we've had to do that for ourselves, because oftentimes the things that other people say or think about us are things that we honestly have probably thought or felt about ourselves. And so I think that's what's powerful. I think when you embody just um, that that just beingness, I guess, the beingness of just existing and showing other people, yeah, like, who we are is like enough, and
Yeah.
we don't need other titles or accomplishments to be enough. We just are. And that's, for a lot of people, that is the hardest to, really accept. No, I have to be this person, or I have to get all this money, or I have to do all these things to, like, be worthy. And it's like, is that really the world that you want to exist in or create? Because we're creating this together. Is that really like what we want? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about gender euphoria, and I kind of want to bring it back to that. So, do you have a monumental gender euphoria moment other than the one that you shared? Or if that feels too big, like, is there like one that's coming to mind as I'm asking this question?
I'm kind of having more of like a series of moments, or like a theme of moments come into my mind as you ask that question,
Hmm.
or than a particular moment. Um, there's just been so many moments along my path of discovering new ways of embodying myself that give me gender euphoria, whether it's a new piece of clothing that I feel really good in, or um, cutting my hair into a bob and having bangs for the first time.
Oh.
Um, that was a special one. Getting the bangs, bangs have gone a long way for me. It's been about a year now, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever go back. I love my bangs.
Oh.
Um, I think of moments hanging out with other girls and just like so unquestioningly being accepted and seen as a girl, and getting to engage with girls in the way that girls engage with girls, and like the kind of stuff that is just like so straightforward, but I just didn't get that as a kid. And experience that now feels really special.
Hmm.
And being in romantic relationships where I'm seen as that full self too, and get to experience queer sapphic love, that has been huge for me in like fully filling out this embodiment of self.
Hmm.
Those are some of the things that are top of mind for me.
Love that. Hmm. So happy for you.
Thank you.
um, okay, a few more, and then eventually we'll transition over to more about the cool work that you're doing, and hopefully some ways that people can engage or find ways to learn more outside of this space. So, The next question is, um, uh, I know you have folks. You had mentioned that there are some folks that have helped you through your transition, and I was wondering if there were any folks that you wanted to mention here, and share like the ways that they've helped you in your journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel fortunate to have a number of really lovely, supportive friends and family in my life. The two that I would want to mention are my two best friends, Mary and David. Uh,
Mhm.
I have a long history with both of them, and the three of us are like a little family, a little
Oh.
trio. Mary was a former partner of mine for a number of years, and then we transitioned our relationship um, to being platonic life partners, basically best friends. And David was a high school friend, one of my best friends in those years, and then we spent almost 7 years where we hardly spoke. We weren't in touch, just living our own separate lives. And then I moved back to the area, and he was living in San Diego, where the three of us all currently live. And um, we reconnected and just hit it off right away. And David was actually the first person that I told that I was trans, and the way that he received me, um, yeah, it still brings me to tears when I think about it. I told him, and he like just came over and gave me a huge hug and said, "I'm so proud of you." And to just be received with like such overflowing joy was exactly what I needed. Because too often the response is one of fear. I've had that. I've had that experience too with other people of sharing that, and immediately they go to like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard for you," or like, "What are you going to do about this?" And projecting their own fears onto me when I'm coming and sharing this from a place of like wanting to share my joy and my excitement of who I am. And so it was really meaningful that David received me in that way. And now Mary and David are romantic partners. They've been together for 4 years now, and yeah, again, the three of us just have this like really radical, special, like unconventional anarchist bond, and like really dynamic that is just unlike any relationship that I've had in my life. And um, I'm just so grateful to have people that know me so deeply and have known me, both of them, long before I started to explore this part of myself, and they're still standing with me. And it's just such a gift to be known that way.
Yeah. I want that for like every human being. Is just that is so beautiful and nourishing, and like it just gives me a lot of hope too for relationships, that they can evolve and you can continue on and still have really good healthy relationships with people as they transition too. The cat's got the zoomies again, so just forewarning.
I hear a couple of bumps and rumbles.
Yeah. Oh gosh. But yeah, I'm wondering now, like too, like what is there anything you would share to like your younger self, or your teenage self? Can also be in the lens of like children and just in general. If there's something that you'd want to share.
Hmm. I think that just to children in general, what I'd want to share, and what I have had opportunities to share, I've done some. Um, there's a school that I've worked with to to hold circles for some of the trans kids, as well as share with the whole school about my gender journey. And one of the main things that I've just wanted to tell those kids and have been grateful to be able to share on a couple occasions is just that, like, it's just totally okay to be who you are. And what's most important is just being the full true self that you are, whether you're trans or whether you're non-binary or whether you're cis. Those are all awesome options, and like the most awesome thing is just being you.
Yeah. What was the name of that school?
It's called the Manzanita Nature School. It's in Topanga Canyon here in California.
Cool.
Yeah.
Um, so last question for this part of the interview is there anything that you'd like to share to your future self?
Hmm. I think I just want to tell her that there's so much joy and expansiveness and radiant love that's possible. And just remind her of that in the moments when she's having a hard time and when she's moving through grief or feeling alone, that there's so much ahead.
Yeah. And please, I just feel like if you ever are in the moment and you want to talk to somebody, like absolutely feel free to send me a message because I feel like, too, I think what this what I think is cool about this connection podcast is that I think it's going to help us to network a little bit more with each other and feel even more connected because I think that's what a lot of people in life thrive when they really feel supported by community, like what you were sharing too. And so I think the more that we can do that, even if we're in different places in the world, like that's that's a really beautiful gift of the time that we're in right now too, with like the social media and things like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah. And your share was very helpful too. I think that's a reminder I need to give to myself as well. So it's been a little rough. So
Me too.
yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the how you're turning. You can totally correct me if I'm writing this wrong, but I was like taking waste and making them into renewable resources and how we can do this for everybody. I want to know more.
So, yeah, the work that I am involved in and feel committed to of natural building encompasses a lot of different practices and modalities and possibilities and different sorts of projects. But to sum it up, I build things out of mud and I teach others how to do it too.
Okay.
I'm the founder of Mudworks, which is an organization that seeks to actualize natural building projects and provide education and resources to help further this work in the world. And so, on a small scale, that has looked like hosting workshops on creating a pizza oven out of earth or an earthen bench, up to creating a small structure. I've made a few small dwellings. I helped to build a community kitchen during a series of workshops, a couple like outdoor bathrooms, another space that was a little like 120 square foot art studio. And I've hosted a lot of workshops to share about those practices. And then I also collaborate on larger jobs. Right now, I'm collaborating with a friend of mine to put clay plaster on the inside walls of a new home that's being constructed right now. Much like larger scale um, kind of project. And so in this work, I'm utilizing natural materials like clay and sand and straw to create earthen plasters that go on the wall that basically are a substitute to drywall and latex paint and a lot of these more conventional products that are not only toxic to our health as the inhabitants, but they also are toxic to the earth. They don't break down, they're just going into landfills. They take an immense amount of energy to produce, and they aren't as resilient and long lasting. And so, in the case of choosing natural building practices, for example, you would maybe start with the bare bones are going to look in the practices I tend to use fairly similar. So you've got your wood framing that's the bones, the structure of the house. But then instead of like a fiberglass based insulation, which is very common, like a spray foam insulation or like synthetic fiber insulation, my favorite is to just use raw straw. So you're filling the cavity of the wall with straw and then covering it with strips of wood called wood lath. And that provides a substrate for the plaster to go on. And so that plaster is this mix, again, of clay and sand and straw that is mixed together with water to the right consistency and then applied over the wall to cover the wall. And that thick clay plaster has an immense amount of benefits. It is fireproof. It virtually is going to fireproof your home. It's mold proof because there's no moisture barrier. That organic material can still breathe. Essentially, it can absorb and release moisture, and so that also makes it superior for moisture regulation naturally in the home. It's incredibly sound deadening. It actually purifies the air. Having the clay that the air in your home is passing like through these clay walls purifies the air. Feels incredible to be in a space that has clay on the walls. Everyone's first impulse, like pretty much without fail, is to reach up and touch the wall. There's like deep embodied human connection that runs beneath our like cognitive process. And there's something that really is just soulful about working with these materials and being surrounded by these materials.
Yes.
And
Is your wall right there, Clay?
this is not, no, just like a redwood siding in this little cabin that I'm living in. One day I would love to live in a space that I built, and I hope to do that one day.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's tons of possibilities. Natural building mean everything from like a little mud hut in the woods that's like no wood at all. You're just like slapping the mud together. That's cob is the term for that building practice where you're basically like building a sandcastle
Okay.
out of that same material, the clay and the sand and the straw, with these big thick walls. And that's often like a gateway. That's like the first thing people have heard about is cob. It's these like big like
Right.
shapes. You know, you can be very organic with your shapes, and like that's awesome. But it doesn't have to just be that. Like this project I'm working on now, much of the house is fairly conventional. You know, it's all rectilinear. It's designed by architect. It's permitted. The whole thing. It's like it's a high end home, but we're coming in this crew of me and my friend and some other folks. We're going to pull in, and we're coming in and adding the plaster on the walls and bringing that earthen element into the home, and that shows how natural building can really be integrated into any sort of home in conventional construction or little like hippie commune out in the woods. It's
Yeah.
practices that can fit everywhere if we know how to utilize them well.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because like I when I was in Arkansas, my trans buddy, he like just bought a house with his wife and he was talking about cob and cobbing his walls on the inside and telling me all the things that you're telling me about like the insulation and like blah, blah, all the things. And I'm just like, I think it's so cool, like uh yes, and
Yeah,
I'm like, also as you're talking about this, I'm like, so many things are coming through, but like, um, eh, how long have you had this? I mean, do you consider it as a company, or is it just like your way of life, or like how do you see it?
yeah. I have an LLC uh,
Okay,
for the organization. At the moment, it's just me, so it's kind of like it's the name that I'm using as the umbrella for the work that I do and like the brand essentially for like how I'm sharing about my work and seeking to educate people and doing workshops, things like that. Um, and right now, that's looking like me working freelance essentially,
okay,
or like self-employed. And so some of that work has been projects that I'm leading myself, and I'm bringing together volunteers or workshop participants or maybe a couple team members to work with me. But then it also looks like collaborating on projects with other folks that are also established or maybe even more established in their craft and their organizations,
yeah.
and participating with other people that are also passionate about this work.
Yeah, and that I was also like wondering, is this something that you somehow like did you teach yourself how to do this or like through learning things online or from other people or like how did you learn to do this?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one that I get a lot. People are always so curious. How did you find yourself here? And
Yeah.
it's a special story for me. I was living in Seattle for some years and felt ready to return to Southern California where I was born and grew up, and had the opportunity to move to a small retreat center up in the hills, kind of in the middle of nowhere here in SoCal, that has a number of earthen buildings on the land. And I know the woman that used to run that space at the time that founded the retreat center, and he invited me to just come and work trade, be around, like help out with projects. And I knew nothing about natural building until I arrived there, and I had the opportunity to start helping out with some of these projects of restoring some of the earthen buildings that hadn't had fresh plaster on the walls since they were built some like 20 years ago, and needed a little bit of love and TLC, and got to help build a new structure while I was there that had some walls that were straw bale, so literally full bales of straw stacked like bricks and then covered in that earth plaster. So these big,
Hmm,
thick walls with amazing insulation and just so beautiful. And I just fell in love so quickly with this work,
hmm,
and it became quickly apparent that this was more than a hobby or a job. It really feels like my dharma in this lifetime, as much as I can see now. While I have the ability, I feel confident that it's something I'm gonna keep pursuing and something
hmm,
I really believe in. I feel so values aligned with, and so aligned with my skill sets and my interests. And yeah, I feel positioned to be a part of this growing movement. It really is growing. There's a lot of young folks and old folks of all ages that are coming into this work and building businesses and having a lot of success, and
hmm,
starting to have like more jobs than they can hold themselves. And so it's an exciting time to be bringing more people into the fold and providing
hmm.
education and just inspiring people about what's possible when we build with healthy, eco minded materials.
Nice. So I guess that leads to my next question. How is it going for you? Are you self-sustaining on your own, or are you having to, pick up other jobs while you're building this? Um,
So
river?
I spent the first couple years of learning these practices where it was an aspect of how I was supporting myself, but I was finding other ways to supplement that. And I'm coming up on almost exactly a year now since I quit my day job to be able to focus on this work
Wow.
exclusively. And
Congrats.
that has carried me through this year. Not all of the projects I've been involved with have been directly with natural materials. I've also done a number of um, assisting a number of installations at a children's museum here in San Diego, and um, helping to build things not using natural materials, but still project based, and continuing to hone and build my skill set and work with my hands, work with tools. And much of the work that I've done this year has been either projects that I've led myself in natural building or collaborating on other projects, other large builds with big crews, and connecting with other people that are doing this work. And um, the year ahead, I've already got a number of projects that I'm involved in, and so it feels like there's just a lot of possibility opening on that front.
Yeah. Is there any, I don't know how to say this, but like, could it ever be detrimental, the amount of clay that we use? Like, if we switched all, like, if we started, like, building everything out of clay, straw, and, like, natural resources, like, is there any concern on that front?
Hmm. It's a really interesting question. The fact is, we live in a world that has limited resources, and we are utilizing resources from the earth one way or the other. Either we're extracting petroleum and creating synthetic materials, or we're using clay from the land. Um, and so, in theory, yes, as a thought experiment, there could be a situation where uh, certain areas are being like overly extracted for sure, and like mined of natural resources. But the fact is that it's just like a completely different ball game. Like I think the thing is, like, if we were living in a situation where we were getting to the point that we were like running out, quote unquote, of like clay or sand, we'd be living in such a drastically different world that none of the same logics would even apply.
Right.
No, I don't think that the concern would be even there, because the kind of world that we would be inhabiting would be so like conscious and
Right.
so like ecologically minded and spiritually minded that there would be a solution to those problems.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, straw, one thing that's so awesome about straw is that it's actually a byproduct of the farming industry. So the straw is the chaff that's left over after the wheat or the barley has been cut down, and the hay, the green parts with the seeds, the parts of that the animals eat, all the nutritional content has already been extracted, and what's left is the straw. So there's a saying in the natural building community: hay is for horses, straw is for houses. Remember
Mm,
that difference. People often confuse the two. Straw
gotcha.
is like it's just it's just carbon. That's all that's left, is just this like, yeah, chaff from the plant that's left over. And straw is still to this day burned just to make space, because farmers have nowhere to put it. And that's emitting tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. And so by using straw in our plasters, by building straw bale homes, by using straw as insulation, we're actually sequestering carbon because we're putting that carbon material a uh, into a wall system where it's not going to break down because there's no composting conditions, and so it's going to remain intact. Straw bale homes that are now hundreds of years old still are going to have perfectly lovely straw bales inside because they're protected from the
Wow.
elements, and that carbon is being sequestered, and so it's actually giving a net positive carbon impact.
Hmm. And is there any areas in like the the world that like that it wouldn't work based on like how the climate is?
Natural building is always climate responsive, and so
Okay.
practices that are used would be different depending on where you go.
Okay.
But there there are earthen homes all over the world. Over half of all people still live in earthen homes. If you take the entire population of the world, uh,
Hmm.
shocking. But here's huge swaths of the globe where people are still living in their ancestral homes, ancestral building practices, and again, it's you're building in response to your environment. So there's a lot of natural builder folks up in Vancouver and BC, for example, and the practices they might choose might be different than the ones that we would choose here in Southern California. But there's folks building with clay and sand and straw, and you'll take some of those considerations into effect of having a little extra overhang on your roof, things like that to protect your walls from the snow. There's a lot of different things that can be taken into consideration, but there's just as many answers and solutions and possibilities to those questions,
Hmm.
those problems.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah,
Um, what would you say would is there how did I want to say this, but how could we support you with this movement, this I don't know, this transformation of the world, and support other people in being able to start implementing this if they want to, if they choose to.
yeah. I think one of the most important things is just for people to be aware of the possibilities, because the more that it becomes a part of the cultural zeitgeist, the more that it becomes like moves into the mainstream, that people know and understand that it's possible to build long-lasting, healthy, beautiful, artistic living spaces with these materials. The more that people are available that these possibilities exist, the more possibilities can open up.
For sure.
And for folks that want to connect directly with me or receive some of the educational content that I create, or maybe come to a workshop, I still host workshops here and there in between my other gigs. Um, the best way is through either Instagram at mudworks.build, mudworks.build,
Okay.
or my website at mud.works. So those are both ways that folks can see some of the things I'm up to, learn a little bit more about natural building practices. And Instagram is just really such a great way to connect. I'm following so many folks on Instagram that do natural building, and I get to just see inspiration all the time of new innovative things that people are trying, and
Hmm.
beautiful projects that people are doing, and collaborations that are happening. So that's a really good place to start.
Okay. And you'll are your workshops online or are they in person?
All the workshops that I've done so far have been in person.
Okay.
I've wondered before about creating some sort of like online course material. I haven't yet done so. That could be a future project.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done lots of projects and workshops in the San Diego area. I've done a couple like little demos and like presentations, both San Diego and elsewhere, and receptive to that as well, receptive to traveling for that work.
Beautiful. And then if somebody wanted to like learn hands-on, volunteer with you, or just come like learn from you, like doing it hands-on, is there any opportunities for that in this coming year?
At this point, I uh, I don't have any workshops on the books. Oh, that's not true. I have one in January, but um, I don't know if the details are they're not quite there yet, so it might not be the one for the folks that are listening to this podcast. Um, but following along on Instagram or joining my mailing list, which you can do through the website, would be a great way to find out what other workshops or learning opportunities I might have. I've done a number of like free work parties where people can come and just like help out with the project. Again, nothing on the books of that variety at the moment, but the time definitely comes when there's opportunities for folks to get hands on and help out. And the educational component is one of the things that I'm most excited about in this work and most committed to. And so I'll continue to find ways and opportunities for people to get involved.
And if there's anybody out there that's like, I don't really want to learn it, I just want Flower to come do it, are you taking any new projects? Like if somebody wanted to like hire you to do it in their
I'd say
space?
definitely reach out to me. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I've got a network of folks that I've worked with to collaborate on projects, and I do have, as I said, a couple things currently uh, that I'm working on the books for the year ahead. But um, I'm
Yeah.
I plan to do this for many years, and so if there's someone that's hearing this and excited about it, has a vision, has some resources that they want to invest towards this kind of project, absolutely reach out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my last question, I think, for now at least, we'll end it here. But um, is it just San Diego based, or would there ever be a chance that you could travel somewhere else to do a project?
I would definitely travel for work and have and do. I spent some time in Ashland, Oregon this summer doing some projects. Uh,
Nice.
Heading up to Port Angeles in February for the second year in a row to be a part of a big um, gathering of natural builders and natural plasterers. Um, and yeah, happy to continue finding opportunities to travel and connect with folks in different places that believe in this.
Hmm. Cool. I love it.
Thanks for asking and hearing.
Yes, I'm so glad. I feel like immensely, immensely grateful that you came on today. And I just so appreciate you. Your energy is it is like a flower. It's just beautiful. And
Thank you.
there's like a sweetness and a delicateness to your presence, and just such a great flow too. Like I feel like you can really tell that you work with natural resources. Like there's just such that like grounding energy, right? Which I'm very drawn to. Like I'm very drawn to like places like Sedona or like the red rocks, right? Like any earth elements I definitely am, but like there is something about that color and just being able to touch it. And I can't even imagine having a house full of like red or orange clay. And like I feel like there would just be so much bursting of like love and joy coming out of me.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. I've been fortunate to spend a lot of time in earthen structures and grateful for every minute of it.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. I don't have any more questions. I'm done interrogating you.
Great. I love it. Yeah, thanks for all the thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
Uh,
If you have a few more minutes or a minute, if there's one question you want to ask me, you have the floor if you want to about anything.
Great. Cool. What excites you? to start this podcast?
Well, lots of reasons, but I'm gonna share that. So I got top surgery in April, and yeah, very exciting. And I finally feel like this is like my chest. It's, the healing process confuses you because you're like, I'm in pain and this doesn't really feel like mine yet. Um, but yeah, it was like, it was probably not my best decision to do this, but like right after getting surgery, like within the first, I guess it was after maybe like 2 weeks, I had just gotten my bandages off and I was watching or I like went on YouTube and I typed in the word transgender. And the first few videos were like the scares around detransitioning. And then there was the other video around, um, I believe it was a cisgendered woman interviewing this trans woman about her like bottom surgery, and it was a completely like botched surgery, and it was so traumatic. And I just felt like the interviewer was just like the empathy, like the really understanding and like the compassion and just the care that was needed in those moments to be there for her emotionally at that time. It just did not feel that way. It just felt like it crushed my soul. And yeah, I don't think it was like I was very obviously tenderhearted, but it just like fueled something in me. Like I wanted to see trans people talking to other trans people and not just having the majority of like what people see as like the scare tactics and the fear and there's nothing wrong with detransitioning, but the way that they're storytelling it
Mm-hmm.
times is very much like in a negative sense.
Yeah.
And so that has been a huge thing. And then just like everything with the election and just how I was feeling after that, it just felt like this is the time. And just the response from all of you who also were feeling it was the time just reassured me that like we can do this. And you know there is strength in numbers, and I'm needing that community, I feel. So it's so both for myself but also for community, and just wanting to uplift each other, uplift my own self to, you know I've been dabbling with my own business for a long time and just feeling confident that like I have these gifts to share with others. Um and so this honestly gives me some practice, and also for more people to like experience who I am and what my energy is like as well.
Well, it's coming through really clearly, Maverick. I really appreciate the work you're doing, and it's really sweet to be able to share this space with you. And excited to listen to the other
Yeah.
episodes and hear about more people's transformation.
Yay. Yeah, I'm so grateful. And we'll talk more after the podcast about other things, other details about the podcast. But yeah, thanks for asking that question. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to stop the recording. Done.